Welcome to India Autism Center's webinar on drama therapy for personal wellness in the time of lockdown by Shuktara Lal. Shuktara Lal is a drama therapist and counselor, teacher and theatre director based in Kolkata. She privately counsels clients, individuals, couples and groups and is attached to the NGOs Kolkata Handmade and CHIP and the school Sri Sri Academy as a drama therapist. As a theatre teacher, she teaches speech and drama at the Calcutta School of Music and theatre at Garden High International School. In addition, she directs and collaborates in different capacities with performing arts groups in the city. Outside of theatre, she writes and works with the publishing house Writers Workshop. Shuktara is a certified counselor from Jadavpur University. She holds an MA in Performing Studies from New York University, where her area of focus was examining the therapeutic potential of performance for women who have been abused, for which she received an international fellowship from the American Association of University Women. She also holds an MA in English from Jadavpur University.
Well, I'll start with a very basic, something extremely basic, which is what is therapy? Therapy is understanding, clarity, articulation, and then the possibility for transformation. One big common misconception about therapy, whether it's psychotherapy, whether it's art-based therapy, is that it solves problems. It creates, it's a solution, it's a fix. It changes something big. That is not what therapy is. Before one can, change is not even something that comes into initial conversations. Right at the beginning, the process of therapy is only to give a space for the person to understand himself, herself, themselves, and figure out ways in which that self can be articulated, ways in which that self can become clearer, both intrapersonally as well as interpersonally. And that is from our vantage point of drama therapy, this is the keystone. So when we are looking at working with children and young people on the spectrum, how does this work? How does drama therapy work? The components of drama therapy are play, story, role play, improvisation, communication, movement, and ritual. These are some of the aspects of drama therapy. And these are the things that we are going to be talking about today when we discuss how we can use drama therapy for children and young people on the spectrum, particularly keeping in mind the circumstances that all of us are living in. When you are working at home with your children. So at the very beginning, this is something that I would like all of you to pay attention to. These are a few very basic action words. I am, I feel, I need, I think, I know, I can, I will. Write these words down. I will repeat them. I am, I feel, I need, I think, I know, I can, I will. From your point of view, I want you to respond to them. Try to do it in very few words. Maximum, go for a sentence. See if you can come up with action words, action emotions. The first task is you. I am, I feel, I need, I think, I know, I can, I will. These are words that have informed sessions done by Lee R. Chazen. He is a drama therapist who has worked with people on the autism spectrum. And he uses the word grounding. These words are meant to ground a child and therefore can be used to begin a session and must also, in my opinion, be used to end the session as well. Once you have answered these questions from your point of view, I want you to think about another person's point of view. This could be a child that you work with, this could be somebody else, but now I want you to imagine another person who you know, who you are familiar with, and respond on the basis of that person. Same words, I am, I feel, I need, I think, I know, I can, I will. Okay, so this is the first point of a session. Keep in mind that everything that I have, that I am exploring today with all of you is based entirely on the current circumstances that we are in. It is assumed that there is only one child or siblings who you are working with, or it is you and a child who you are working with. It is meant to be an individual exercise. This entire space of drama therapy is being, it is being structured, obviously keeping in mind that it cannot be a group engagement. It has to be something that is one-to-one. Now, here is the process. Let's look at these words individually first, see them, and then I shall go over them. In case you have not been able to see the card, I am repeating the points in the process, all right? The first is grounding. Grounding, as I said, is using these keywords. I am, I feel, I need, I think, I know, I can, I will. That's grounding. After that, the next step is identification of emotions. Drama therapy is excellent, is an excellent tool to help one understand facial and body cues for an emotion and therefore match that with what that emotion is. What is happiness? What does happiness look like? What does a happy body look like? What does an angry face look like? What does an angry body look like? Drama therapy breaks down emotions into a body, face, and voice structure. That is the second. So we have grounding, we have identification of emotions, and then we have everyday situations, creating very simple dialogues for everyday situations. From there, we move to a story, which can be something that is absolutely fantasy-based, something that is entirely being created in an imaginary space. And this ties up with a very surreal kind of environment that we are living in right now. From there, we look at how the story can be transformed, if it needs to be transformed. Is there anything that the child has brought up that could be relooked at, could be explored further, could be modified? Are there emotions that need to be modified? And then from there, we once again return to grounding, where again we are asking, I am, I feel, I need, I think, I know, I can, and I will. Okay, so we've discussed grounding. At the beginning of the session, you are giving these words to your child. Please keep in mind that these answers do not have to be written out. These answers can be drawn out. They can be pictures. You can do this with chalk. You can create a square on the floor using chalk, and the child can write on it. You can do it on paper. You can do it in a book. It can be chart paper that is kept and put up on a wall in the house. But the way in which the response is given by the child is entirely up to the child. Child might not feel comfortable writing, so the child can draw it out. The child can make a simple cartoon or a comic strip out of it, if the child would prefer that. Now we go to identification of emotions. For going from there, what I would like to refer all of you to sorry, I'm searching for a card. Yeah. These are tools that can be used. Okay, we'll go slowly. I'll read them out. Art, puppets, a comic strip, a graphic story. When I say a graphic story, what do I mean? A story that has both words as well as art. Handcrafted objects. I will come to both handcrafted objects and puppets a little later. Toys at hand, toys that are already available for the child at home. A story or a script that the child writes. Video. When I say video, I mean using the basic phone selfie feature of video recording something that you are doing. A song. This could be a song that the child creates, a song that the child writes. Or it can be a song that the child likes and changes the words around, depending on what the child wants to say. It can be a game that the child makes. And then, of course, we have it all coming back together, something that means something that is slightly deeper for the child, which is the ritual element. Right. So when you have all these, so these are tools that I want all of you to make sure that you have it sort of there in your repertoire, whether it's something like art, which can be drawing, which can be painting, whether it's puppets that the child is making, handcrafted objects, a story, a comic strip, story and art, toys that are available at home, a song that is being written, a story or a script that is being written, video, the tool of a video of recording yourself performing something, and a game that you are making. So now how do we use these in the process? When we are looking at something, so you've started the session with the grounding. From there, you are moving to identifying an emotion. How can you do that? Perhaps you can ask the child to choose which form the child would like to work with. Would the child be comfortable drawing? Would the child be comfortable making a puppet? Would the child be comfortable making an object? please know that these are things that that and I think any drama therapist will encourage you to use found material at home. This allows the child also to be resourceful. This allows us to also create something that is sustainable. So use things that are not needed, use things that would have been thrown away, use things that would push the child's imagination, because the imagination is a tool that the child wants to use. Ask the child to create two separate people, or two separate characters, or two separate things. One can represent the child, and the other can represent something else. Now let's say the child has chosen to make two puppets. Ask the child, give the child a few prompts. Give the child a list of emotions, all right? Take some time. I'm going to give you a few emotions right now. You have happiness, you have anger, you have sadness, you have surprise, you have shock, you have fear, you have love, you have amazement. To this, I want all of you to add 6 more emotions. I'll repeat the ones I said: anger, sadness, happiness, love, fear, surprise, scared, amazement. Add 6 more emotions. Just make a note of this in your own exercise books, in your own notebooks, in your own papers. Try to think about perhaps emotions that sometimes your child feels, or children who you work with, you've seen them experience. And then ask, when we're looking at using and identifying emotions, you're asking the child to use those objects, use those puppets that the child might have created to express those feelings. What would the puppet look like if the puppet is happy? How would the puppet communicate happiness to this other puppet? How would they share happiness with each other? Ask your child to do that and see what the child comes up with. Do this for all the emotions that you would like to. Do this for, you choose the emotional spectrum that you want to work with and lay it out for the child. At the next stage, what you can do is you can ask the child to choose any emotion that the child would like to perform using the puppets or using these objects or using even the artwork that the child might have made. And you, as a parent or as somebody who is taking care of a child, have to guess what the emotion is. I'm being asked a question over here about what age group can you use drama therapy with? You can use it with any age group. But when you are working with somebody who is younger, less than 5 years old, you would have to look at it more from the point of view of play. Games, perhaps, toys, perhaps. Okay? So I hope you have thought of a few emotions that you could look at, asking the child to work with and demonstrate. While this is happening, I would also like you to give a few instructions to the child. For example, making eye contact with the puppets, or making eye contact with the painting or the drawing or the object. This helps enable eye contact, becoming more aware of what eye contact is. Okay. Now, from there, we are looking where that's one activity that has been done. From there, you are now going to be thinking of some very everyday situations that you and your child or the child that you work with often have experienced. Think of some everyday situations. For example, having dinner at home, having lunch at home, going to school, doing your homework, maybe going out, maybe going to a cousin's house, maybe going to another family member's house, spending time with friends. To this very varied pool of situations that I have given, I want all of you to add 5 situations that you feel would have a point of connection with the children that you work with, the children that you live with. If I have another question over here about what if a child doesn't like puppets, the intention is to think of something art-based that the child likes. It doesn't have to be a puppet. It can be a story. It can be an art thing, all right? A drawing, a painting. It could be a simple object that the child has made. But the intention is to create these 2 objects that represent, one is the child, the second is another person. It can even be an imaginary character, and then show emotions through those objects. Okay, I hope you have added a few situations that are a part of your everyday. Now, for this, what I would like, the next task is, you've worked a little bit with emotions. Now, what you are doing, the intention of this activity is to create a logical continuity of dialogue. All right? So let's say we are looking at a family dinner. Let the child create the situation. Who is there in the family dinner? Has anybody come from outside? Or are we looking at a family dinner that is happening in lockdown? In this space, the imagination is allowed to run absolutely free. The child can be looking at a situation that assumes a world where there isn't lockdown, or the child can say that, no, I want to look at a family dinner in lockdown. Whatever it is, the child needs to now create very basic conversation between the people there. And for this, I would like all of you to keep in mind these prompts. Okay, who, why, where, what. What does that mean? Who are the people who are over there? What is the situation? Why are they saying something? Where are they? All right? Keeping it simple, all right? Giving simple questions. And when you're having the dialogues emerge from here, when you have the child writing the dialogues, always check with the child to see whether the child can justify the logical continuity from one line to another. And how do you do that? By giving them these prompts: who, why, where, what. I'd like all of you to also keep in mind as parents that in the space of drama therapy, you don't have to be the parent. You can be somebody else. You can be a character who the child has come up with. You can choose to be another character. Let's say your child wants to do the emotion exercise with you. You can ask the child what type of character the child wants you to be, and you be that character. You convey the emotion based on how you feel that character or that role would have conveyed that emotion. Please know that these are meant to be free-flowing exercises. What I am giving today are a few cues, a few prompts based on how we run our sessions in a drama therapy space. If a child is nonverbal, that's another question that I have gotten over here. Don't use words. Use body language. Use facial expressions. Okay? And we will be looking at other tools for this also. Right. So you have everyday situations. You're looking at dialogues that can be created for everyday situations. Now, let's say that the child isn't that keen on, writing something down. We have that repertory of other things that can be used. All right. You have art. So you can actually, if you want, draw out this family dinner panel by panel. If that is what the child would like to do, that is fantastic. The medium in which the child expresses any of these exercises is the medium that the child should feel absolutely comfortable with. So it could be puppets, eating dinner. It could be a comic strip, as I had said, a graphic story, where you are looking again at a panel by panel development of that family dinner. If the child likes playing with toys, could the toys be used to create this dinner situation? Now we move to creating something that is slightly more wide, a story, which is also drawing on the child's imagination, building on fantasy. Here, it does not have to be, the logical continuity is not something that has to be there. It can be there, but the child can also be given absolute freedom to roll with it, to create a fantasy space that is entirely the child's. So if say you have an older child who is grappling with what lockdown means to the child, can the child create this kind of a fantasy space of living in a lockdown? What would that world look like? And how would the child want to show it? Again, what are the objects that the child would like to use? Could it be that the child likes playing a game? And can that game be used can that game be changed and tweaked to make it seem like it's a game that the child is playing to tackle lockdown? Within that game, can there be also lessons that are being put in? When I say lessons, I don't mean big lessons, but in terms of why exactly, in what context and what kind of context did COVID come about? What are the things that we can learn from this? What type of world would the child like to be in once lockdown ends? Don't necessarily guide the child over here. Ask them if they would like to do something like this and see where the child goes with it. If this is something that you feel is difficult for the child, give the child the space to create a story of her or his own. And that is the child's story. That is, there is nothing that you really need to guide over there. Once the story has been done, right, just like the way the child wanted to do it, then based on the other things that you have seen, whether it's everyday conversations, whether it's identification of emotions, then you're looking at and you're asking the child whether she or he would like to change the story, whether there's anything that the child feels needs to be changed. And over here, you can give emotion prompts. Do you feel that there is an emotion that the child experiences that you would like the child to transform into something else? If in the story there was a lot of anger, what could the anger be changed to? You can start this first with the grounding again. So after the story fantasy has been done, you're again asking the child to go to these cards, all right? I am, I feel, I need, I think, I know, I can, I will. I can and I will is also a future. There's a certain amount of projection in it. What would the child like to feel? What would the child like to do? Again, over here too, your role is, yes, of course, you are the parent, but you are also not the parent. Yes, of course, you are the caregiver, the teacher, but you are also not the caregiver, not the teacher. You might be another person in this play. So you have an everyday conversation, you have something that is absolutely imagination based, that the child has created using tools and using a method that the child wants to use. And then with that same method, you're seeing how you would like the child to change it. And you're asking the child through your character, through the character that you are, about whether the child would be interested in looking at it another way. And from there, you return once again to grounding. All right? So you're ending this again with I am, I feel, I need, I think, I know, I can, I will. If nothing else, I would definitely encourage you to look at these prompts, because these are very free-flowing prompts. They allow for a certain kind of, they allow for grounding. There's no other, I mean, I can't use a better word for it. And the way in which a child responds can be through anything. It doesn't have to be a word-based response. It can very well be an art-based response. For the next part, what I would like to now shift to is, okay, your own care. Because all of you are caregivers. You need to take care of yourselves. And for that, what we are going to be looking at is your own personal care in lockdown. Write this question down. Who are you? One of the core components of drama therapy is role playing. In life, we are constantly playing multiple roles. Right now, you are watching me conduct a webinar. After this, I could become a friend. I could be calling up a friend of mine. I could simultaneously be a daughter. I could simultaneously be a parent. The way in which functional adults shift from one role to another you don't think about it. It's something that happens organically. It's something that happens seamlessly. It's something that you start doing at a very early age. And so I want you to think of the multiple roles that you play. Okay, I'll just read out very quickly a list. You can check them off if you want. Parent, mother, father, brother, sister, friend, sibling. Please keep in mind that a role is gender neutral. You can be a woman, you might identify as female, but you might feel like you play the role of a father. All right, there is no gender in these roles. Brother, sister, friend, boyfriend, girlfriend, lover, survivor, savior, fighter, warrior, coward, grandmother, grandfather, child, teenager, an adult, dependent, an elder, an unknown person, a therapist, a problem solver, a clown, a confused person, a critic, a villain, a victim, a perfectionist, a helper, a rebel, an anxious person, somebody who worries, an angry person, an activist, a son, a daughter, husband, wife, partner, an orphan, a witness, a dreamer, a bully, a hero, a believer, a doubter, an idealist, a realist, an artist, a performer, a loner, a socialist, a capitalist, an introvert, an ambivert, extrovert, a boss. Okay, so this is just a very general spectrum of roles. Please feel free to add to them. And this is your role map. At any one time, you might be inhabiting, and not might, you are inhabiting multiple roles. And for your therapy work in lockdown, we are going to be looking at projection. What is the role that you would like to be? What is the role that sometimes gets lost in all these roles that you are doing? What is the name of that role? Please keep in mind that the role that you are choosing does not have to be on the list of roles that I have given. It could very well be a role that I have not listed. Once you have identified the role, I want you to think of what does the role look like? If you had to give it some kind of a visual from the point of view of sight, What does it look like? Does it have a color? Does it have a size? Does it have a shape? What is the visual indicator of the role? What does the role sound like? Draw on whatever feels organic to you. It could be a nature sound. It could be a sound at home. But this is the role that you would like to be. It's there in you, but it gets quashed sometimes by all these other roles that take over. What does the role smell like? We've looked at sight, we've looked at sound, we've looked at smell. What does the role taste like? Is it salty? Is it sweet? Is it bitter? Is it bittersweet? Is it something else? It should be something else. Finally, what does the role feel like? What is the texture? Does it feel like a blanket? Does it feel like gauze? Does it feel like wood? Does it feel like cotton? You decide. Does the role have a rhythm to it? Does it move quickly? Does it dance? If it dances, what is the beat with which it dances? Once you've got this sense of your future, of the role that you're looking at, this is what we are looking at now. You have the role. You have story fantasy. You have rehearsing a particular behavior. And you have grounding. And you have ritual. All right? So when we were talking about the role, when I say not me or me, what do I mean by that? I mean that this role is there, but it's not something, as I had said, that always is allowed to be. The role that you are looking at must be something that you know is there inside you. It should not be some fantastic role. It should not be something that, that is very removed from you. It needs to be there inside your role repertoire. And then from there, you're going to be looking at body language, script, voice, expressions, costume, accessories. What do I mean by this? You've done a sort of a sensory understanding of the role. From here, I want you to now actually think about what is the body language of the role? How does this role, or how do you in this role sit? How do you in this role move around? How do you in this role walk? What is the voice like? What kind of things does this role say? Are there a few lines, are there a few sentences that this role would say often? If so, write it down. What sort of expressions does this role have? Facial expressions. And what does the role look like visually? When I say visually, I mean costume, I mean hair, I mean accessories. If you're looking directly from stage, does the role have any prop? Might not, and that's absolutely fine. Does the role wear makeup? There is no right or wrong over here. Role could love to wear makeup, role could hate makeup. But this has to be a role that you feel good about. This has to be a role that you want to nurture, that you want to celebrate. And when we are looking at ritual, over here, for your own self-care, we'll be looking at grounding and ritual together. I want you to think of something, some sort of a metaphor for this role. If you were to try to identify an object that best represents this role, what would that object be? It can be something, again, it can be an inanimate object. It can be something that exists outside. I do have a request. I do not want you to immediately think of a tree or a flower. Try to think of something that is outside of a tree and a flower, unless you feel that that tree or that flower represents your role the best. And if that is the case, I want you to be very specific about which tree it is, which flower it is, and why. But ideally, try to think outside of trees and flowers. Once you have identified that object, I want you to figure out a way of making it. I want you to figure out a way of bringing that object into your everyday life. It doesn't need to be something that you are literally, obviously, bringing in, but it needs to be something that you are making that represents this object. Once again, you are looking at found material, things that you already have. So going back, you're looking at a role that is in you, but is also not in you because you aren't really able to give it that time. And within this confined space of a lockdown, you're trying to visualize that role. You are imagining it. You're allowing yourself to actually visualize it, fantasize about it, and then you are trying to perform it a little bit. This does not obviously have to be a big performance, but it is figuring out a time in your day to just allow that role to be. It doesn't have to be a long period of time. You decide how much time you can give this. And along with that, you are grounding it through a metaphor. That metaphor is an object that you have made that represents your role. That object could be drawn from an inanimate object. It could be something outside in nature. And that becomes a part of your ritual because every day you will be taking time to look at it and to breathe it in. And so before we wrap, I would like you to take a moment to keep your eyes closed. Breathe in your role, this role that you would like to give some space to in lockdown. Breathe in the time that you feel you can give space to it. Exhale the other roles. You're not releasing these roles. You're just trying to balance other roles out a little bit. Open your eyes. Yeah. Thank you very much.